Best thing is the best show in town. I was watching some of the Twitter comments, and one was like, "Thank God for chess because we get to see this." Now, by the way, in reference to your point about Nakamura, I don't believe him for a second when he says that he doesn't take this seriously. I think that's absolutely absurd. He wants to win this so bad. Absolutely. As soon as he found out that it was very unlikely that he would win the U.S. Championship, he had this title on his mind. Nakamura, you can't believe every word he says in an interview.
Well, but if he was dead serious, totally serious, he would not have let Garry off the hook yesterday. Yesterday's flub by Garry when Garry let go off the piece. If Naka was so bent on winning this event at all costs, you know, if Magnus Carlsen had let go, he would have said, excuse me, you let go. That's it.
I think he thinks he's going to win anyway.
I think he had a different attitude about it. And, you know, now I think, though, he's settled in and he wants to win this now. And it's a great position for him. He did not play well yesterday. Clearly, by his standards, what we've seen, he did not play great. And guess what? He's tied for first. What happens if he brings his A game today? Well, I think he'll run away with it.
What if he and Garry bring their A game? Then we're going to see some absolutely brilliant defense by Nakamura, some quick play, and, of course, just sizzling openings and conceptions. But that's what Nakamura, I think, has that. You also see in Caruana just incredible defensive skills in Blitz.
Absolutely. No question about it, Jen. Well, all of these players are just, what can I say, the best of the best. And Garry, like you say, is analyzing, getting prepared. And Maurice and I will recall, of course, when Garry takes off his watch, he came in, which he has done earlier, he came to play. And when he put the watch on, it meant the game was over. And there they're off.
And it looks like he's playing a modern.
Pert defense. Wow, Garry, and it's a transposed to a King's Indian after this move C4.
Strange that Wesley didn't go for some other lines.
And it hasn't.
It's G4 by Garry, taking the position into original lines. This move, not the common move.
This was a favorite opening. I used to play a favorite defense. I would play in this position knight c6. And my idea, of course, is to capture this knight on f3, followed by capturing the pawn on d4. And if they played the move d5, to do the same thing, to capture this knight and then to occupy the square d4. And knight d2.
That's an unusual move, absolutely, in this position.
Right out of the opening, we're getting something very, very different. Now, everybody and his brother plays e5 in this position with the idea that after d5, you drop back with a knight to d7 and you transpose into a King's Indian, where this knight on d2 is utterly misplaced. We'll see if that happens that way.
Of course, the bishop on g4 is not a happy camper. It doesn't want to trade itself off normally in the King's Indian. So you see there, after it was attacked, Garry dropped it back to d7. That's a bishop you want to retain in the King's Indian. But at some point, it looks like he's going to get in f5. Can he get it in without, well, it doesn't look as though he can get it in without developing his knight just yet. He might be able to play h6 and go for it. It would be nice gaining the tempo if he could play this move f5 without having to bring the knight out castle and then move the knight again and then get it. So that pawn, f7, f5 is the move that Garry's going to be looking for. And c5 already.
Whoa. Instant c5.
c5.
With the idea that if you take, we can play knight c4, start ganging up on that e-pawn.
I love that move. Trying to throw Garry off right away in the opening, and Garry realizes it.
Yes, he
give me the pawn.
He's doing what I would, and play f6. Just throw down the challenge.
And
You're the one who sacrificed the pawn. Let's see how it goes.
So now if we play d6, you just put you can just go knight
c8. Knight c8 looks fine.
I think you gotta go knight c8 because if you go knight c6, we can take on c7 and play knight d6 check anyway.
That might be that strong, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
That might not be that strong because after king e7, your knight will have to leave.
And the knight will come back. So
well, Wesley, I have b7 though.
Oh. I think Wesley's just going to play bishop e3 and slow play it.
Yeah.
Like as a pawn sacrifice.
Right, and then we have b6 in the cards anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
So.
But hold on a second. In this position, b5 is an idea. He has played d6 and knight drop back to c8. So we're seeing this critical line. d6, knight drop back, and now the move bishop to e3. That is an interesting variation. The point being that the knight on g8 cannot get in the game, and white is threatening the pawn on c5. The question is, what if b5 right now? Now he's played b6, being very solid. B5 didn't lead anywhere, but this move B6 after castles, white is way ahead in development. Black has to figure out how to unravel his pieces.
Well, it's very simple, Maurice. You just play knight h6 in such positions. You bring your knight to f7, and you quickly, and I mean quickly, get your king out of the center. And again, these pieces on the king side, white's pieces, the bishop on e3, bishop on e2, knight on f3, are not major actors in this type of structure where black is blockading with his pawns on e5 and c5. Personally, it's easier to play Wesley's position, but I actually like black's extra pawn.
And Gary's played the move bishop to c6,
Very
attacking
cagey.
the pawn.
I like that move too, attacking the pawn on e4, as well as now threatening the pawn on d6 3 times.
That's right, and stopping any kind of little ideas like queen d5 that we might have in the position.
Right.
So now
The Indians are giving takes on c7
Yeah.
right now. After all, that pawn is hanging, and he has to take and capture back by Garry. And now the move b4, Wesley insisting
Whoa.
on playing incredibly sharp chess on every move, and Garry shaking his head because Wesley will not let him develop any pieces without aggression on the board.
That's
and
right.
Now he just can't develop his knight because c5 is hanging, but if he takes on b4, then a rook will go to c1, and that is his plan. Wesley, on every move, it looks like Wesley's intent on opening up the game, playing gambit chess, and forcing Kasparov to think, and Kasparov boldly just taking the pawn anyway.
That's right. Well,
the capture did in fact occur, and now rook to c1. That he did not play knight e7 just yet. That move has not been played just yet.
So what kind of
But what is Wesley's plan?
Well, can
Simple.
we-
Keep that king in the center. That was why I wanted to go knight h6 and f7. Wesley is not letting Garry breathe. Every single move, he's throwing down a new challenge, a new sacrifice. Wesley's idea is to play queen b3.
and he's done that.
And knight e7, queen b3 is on the board, so you don't want to castle right now because of a horrific discovery by that knight.
Exactly.
The queen on the long diagonal, preventing the king from castling. How will he get out of the center?
That is
And
that
the
is
Indians,
the
by the
challenge.
way, are giving a huge edge to white right now, saying that
Wow.
white is crushing black by a full piece, according to the Indians, because the black king is stuck in the middle of the board. H6, that's
What?
not making any progress
H6?
in this position.
Well,
H6.
how do we build up the position as white? We could just play rook to d1
Rook
or
to d1. I like that.
just play rook d1, and at some point you got to be careful about us removing the knight from c4 and sticking a bishop on b5.
That is absolutely right. This position is huge for white. Full compensation for 2 pawns down. 2 pawns down.
and rook
He's playing the
d1
move,
was
rook D1.
played.
But the question is, I'm trying to get into Gary's head. What was he thinking about with this move h6? He can't be thinking about playing f5, opening up the position to
Oh,
the
no,
better
that would be
army.
death.
No. So what was?
Well, he's played b5 here.
B5 now on the board. The Indians give that as
Can we
totally
play
lost.
Knight takes
Knight
b5
takes
and
E5.
bishop b5.
Bishop B. What is this about?
Wow.
More sacrifices. The Indians,
Every
the
single-
Indians gave knight A5 is completely crushing, but this is bad as well. This is also bad. That C6
We're
bishop.
threatening bishop c6 and queen e6 check.
What about just queen E6 right now as
Exactly.
well? Everything is bad for him. He just played rook to B8, forcing the trade. It looks like queen E6 won't work right now, but there's got to be a death blow.
Well, you can take on c6 and then play queen e6
He's
also.
played
But he just played
bishop
bishop a4,
A4.
renewing the threat.
Wesley's playing incredible chess.
Oh,
That was
yes.
the Indians' first
Unbelievable chess by Wesley.
Choice.
So far, gorgeous attacking game
And he did it in
Blitz.
seconds.
It's just astonishing the way he's completely dismantling Kasparov in this game. He is playing just sacrificial chess. He's playing in the style of Tao. You're looking at this right now. Beautiful.
Fantastic game so far.
This is
and Garry
awesome.
I think Garry missed b4 because you could see as soon as the move b4 happened, he was already like, whoa, I wasn't expecting that.
It's queen b7. He played
It
queen
looks
to
like-
b7 is
queen
on
to
the board.
B7.
Queen
And-
b7.
Oh my
not
goodness.
Rook b7.
Rook c6
Rook
is
c6 and
crushing.
queen e6 check,
Rook
yeah.
c6 is just, if he finds that, this is
I
the
just
other
updated
game,
my board.
which is not nearly as exciting
He's
as
going
this
to
one.
find rook c6
Will
and
he
queen
find
e6
it?
check.
Rook c6.
Guys.
And bam! There it is.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wesley
Wesley
So. know.
So
playing one of the
brilliant.
greatest
man.
Blitz games I've ever
And now
witnessed.
he's played Bishop C5, and he's just threatening Bishop takes C6.
This is
I
like
mean, Bishop takes 6.
Morphe
This is
versus the
unbelievable.
Duke.
This is unbelievable chess.
This is one
and
of the
Garry
greatest.
knows it now. He's completely busted. What an amazing display by Wesley.
Wow.
And now taking on E7 and resigns. What
What
have we
a-
seen here? I mean, kudos to Wesley So. He just ripped Garry apart in that game. You can look at this game from just studying move by move, and Wesley instantly playing genius chess. Incredible.
Wow, those of you who bet on Wesley in this match, who believed in the underdog, give yourselves a big pat on the back, because that game was the game of the ultimate Blitz so far.
Oh, absolutely. I'm in
That
shock.
game is one of the most amazing Blitz games I've ever seen in my
Hands
life.
down. Hands down. He
And-
did it.
and let's
He
take a
did it